Hi, welcome to Bookmark. I'm your host, Don Noble. My guest today is novelist Michael Farris Smith, author of 8 novels, 2 of which have already been made into films. Smith's newest novel, Lay Down Your Armor, is, like many, laced with violence and mysticism. I spoke with Michael Farris Smith in Studio A in the Digital Media Center on the campus of the University of Alabama. Michael, it's good to see you again.
Don, it's good to see you again.
And thank you. You drove over early this morning from Oxford to be here at an ungodly hour, and we appreciate it.
Oh, I was happy to, man. I was really happy to be invited.
You and I became acquainted a little bit a couple of years ago when we were both at Joan Reeves' little fiesta up in Northeast Alabama Community College at Rainsville. That was fun.
That was a great event. It's a great way to spend, 36 hours talking books and hanging out with cool people.
And beautiful country up there too in Mentone. Really nice. Your newest book then, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Was that Salvage?
That was Salvage This World, yeah.
Salvage This World. And now, of course, we have another one.
Yeah.
I have a question I surely have never asked in my life. I was looking around to see biographical information about you that I didn't know. And there was a question mark next to your birth date. Do you know that?
I know that.
Why is there a question mark?
I have no idea.
It says 69 question, 70 question.
I've noticed
Does no one know when you were born?
I know, but I'm not going to report it. I like that. I like that when you pull it up, there's a question mark beside it. It's a little mysterious. I've embraced it.
I've never seen it before.
I haven't either.
I've seen a lot of dubious stuff in Wikipedia, but I've never seen a question mark next to whether you're actually born that year or not. You are, well, it's either, 69 or 70, somewhere in there.
Somewhere in there, it happened.
It looks on paper as if you're one of the purest Mississippi boys ever. Born there, raised there.
Yeah.
3 high school, junior college, master's degree, PhD, all Mississippi.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you are really a product of that situation. When you were at Southern Miss, you got a PhD, and it was in creative writing?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Right.
At the time, the Center for Writers was...
And I've heard you praise your teachers there. What is it? Was it the Double Down brothers?
It was the Double Down brothers. One of them in particular, yeah.
Which one?
Rick and Steve Bartholomew were there at the time. Steve, I really give credit for pushing me in the right direction as a writer. He taught me so much. Because what Steve would do, he was a great line editor. Like he would, on a story like you may put the word jog and he would cross it out and put run, and then he would explain to you why that word mattered more, fit better than the one before. Just the word choice and a lot of work with transitioning from one scene to the next. And what also Steve really did was he could see your style and how you were writing, kind of where your influences came from, and he would push you in that direction. He didn't try to make you into something else. And I've always and he was motivational to me too. One of the greatest things Steve ever did to me is I was sitting in his office one day, and I remember he said, you know what your problem is? He goes, you're just trying to be the best writer here at Workshop. And he had a stack of books on his desk from the short story class we were in at the moment. He goes, you're not supposed to try to be the best writer in Workshop. You're supposed to try to be better than, and he started pointing at him, Hemingway, Flannery O'Connor, Faulkner, Chekhov. He goes, when you figure that out, that's when you'll get somewhere. And that just hit me. Being an athlete growing up and being a competitor, like that hit me right between the eyes and made a ton of sense to me.
You were a baseball player.
Yeah.
Do you have a team now?
Oh yeah, I've been a Braves fan my whole life. My dad's from Georgia actually, so I didn't have much choice.
Me too. These are every day. It's a nightmare.
It's agonizing, right? It's quickly how fast it changes, right?
Oh, golly, leaving last night was a horror.
I know. You just got to grin and bear it.
Well, after a long time in schools, I think very sensibly you decided you would go to Europe and have a different environment, a different set of experiences. And I think it did you a world of good.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
What did you get out of, what do you think of consciously as having gotten out of it?
Right. Well, actually, I left Mississippi in the schools in between and went to Europe.
Did you?
I graduated from state, and then I had been in Mississippi so long, I said, I got to get out of here. And I stumbled, tripped, and fell into working for the NBA. And they had a traveling basketball festival that was going around Western Europe in an effort to just introduce the game to Western European kids, you know, to make basketball a global game, which they did fabulously. I met a guy, he was hiring essentially a road crew to travel around with this basketball festival and unload it was like being a roadie for a rock show. You unload the equipment, set up the baskets, tents and everything. The kids come out and play. A couple days later when it's over, you load the trucks back up, the trucks drive off and you have a rail pass and all you have to do is meet at the next place at the right time. I was 25 when I got that job. No attachments, no girlfriend, no job, no nothing, no real interest in anything. That was the dream scenario for me.
I've seen you talk about Europe, and the thing that amused me the most was that while you were there, you saw something you'd not seen much of in Mississippi, which was
people sitting around reading in public. I mean, traveling like I did and like bouncing around like I did, and I saw it. I noticed it in the cafes and in the parks and on the trains, and I had a lot of hours to fill. You know, this is pre-cell phone days too, thank God.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of sitting around to do, so I started finding English language bookstores and going and grabbing something to read, and that began my love affair with reading. That was a 3 or 4 year stint. And then when I came back to Mississippi, that's when I went to the Center for Writers and decided I wanted to try to do this myself.
Right. I think that's, I think it's funny. And it's shifted again. With screens, cell phones, and so on and so on. I wonder, I don't see people with books on subways, in buses and trains and cafes in the way I used to.
Yeah.
Maybe they're reading books on their phones, but I don't think so.
Maybe. You would hope so, but I don't know.
And when you came back, Southern Miss, and then you've taught somewhere. You taught at Auburn for a bit?
Yeah, when I graduated from Southern Miss, my first gig was I was a faculty instructor at Auburn.
And then
for 4 years.
Too,
and then I got a associate professor job at Mississippi University for Women in Columbus. And I was there for 12.5 years.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been out of it 5 years now.
Well, people do love teaching, but if the novels go well, they generally stop teaching.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I liked teaching, but I was never, I mean, one of my motivations was always, I want to get out of this, you know. Nothing against the life of it itself, but my thing was I want to be writing full time.
Yeah, of course.
And I want to be, whether it be novels or whether I get lucky and get some movie stuff or whatever, like that's my dream scenario. And fortunately, it happened.
Richard Russo tells a story, of course, many people tell exactly that parallel story.
Yeah.
They teach until things go well, and then they write full time. Something that interested me about your 8 books now altogether?
8 books, yeah.
Russo made a fortune out of writing about the years that he was teaching, like Straight Man and
he
others.
did, yeah.
You've not seen, to my knowledge, you made use of all those years as an English student and all those years as a teacher. That doesn't seem to have been material for you.
Oh, there's plenty of material there, but I just don't want to write about it.
It's not your material.
It's not my material. It's not my story to tell.
Your books have similarities from one to the next, but one of them is different from the others, really, and that is the book Nick, which is, in a sense, language escapes us, but let's call it a prequel. Mm-hmm. That is, what happened to Nick Carraway, the narrator of Gatsby, before he ever got to Long Island and met Gatsby, and you have him in World War I.
Right.
That book was a great success.
Yeah, I'm very proud of it. It was a risk.
But it was maybe your best-selling book,
Yeah.
and you've not been tempted. You've gone back to your home, the material closest to your heart,
Right.
Southern Mississippi, in book after book.
Right.
With the success of Nick, weren't you tempted to, like, I don't know, do what happened to Jacob Barnes before before he met?
It's funny because people did ask me that, and
Sure.
I'm telling you, when you do something like Nick,
Yeah.
I thought if I survive this, I won't do it again.
What were the dangers? What happened?
Well, I think you're dealing with one of the most beloved novels in American literature.
Sure.
And a lot of people weren't real happy about it. I mean, I got a lot of "how dare you" emails right after the announcement of this book, which I thought was fascinating. I was like, am I really getting hate email over a novel I've written? But I've had very sincere emotional reasons for writing that novel. And I had a very deep attachments to the things that I portrayed in that novel. And I lived as an expatriate, and I was fascinated by Nick, and I was so curious about him. And
Yeah.
Nick in Gatsby, he mentions he's turning 30 years old and is anticipating his 30s as a decade of loneliness. And that's exactly where I was sitting when I came back from Europe. I was 29 or 30, and I decided to try to write. And I had no idea what that meant. And I came back to a place that had moved on without me, and I felt very much like a loner. I had no idea what was going to happen, and I thought this could be a decade of loneliness and dejection and whatever. And, you know, after Rivers had come out the year after, I was reading Gatsby for the first time. I'd read it in like 10 or 12 years, and when I hit that line, I immediately thought, man, what brought that guy to thinking like that? Because I know exactly what that feels like. And that's when I thought, I think I'm going to try to find out.
I think it was a success.
Thank you.
Your real subject, well, the majority of your writing is about the southern third of Mississippi. That's the home territory. And it is a sorry place. I mean, it is a mess in your books.
Yeah.
And of course it's a wasteland, but it was interesting. I poked around it. In Eliot, there is sterility. It never rains.
Yeah.
In southern Mississippi, apparently, in your vision of that place, it is being soaked, flooded, and depopulated.
Yeah.
What is it? You're not an eco-novelist.
No.
They're a cultural novelist.
Yeah.
So what's happening there?
Well, I think if you take a ride across South Mississippi and South Louisiana and like Arkansas even, you see that now. I think after Mother Nature strikes, especially in these bigger ways, these smaller places have a way of decreasing a little more every time, because there's no infrastructure, there's no economy, it's harder to rebuild, not getting a whole lot of support from state and federal, and these places are shrinking away, and some of them look like ghost towns.
Yeah.
And some of them look like old movie sets. I mean, it's that decrepit, and that's what's really interesting to me. When I see those places and think of those places, I think, what is life like in these places? And it's a hard question.
I know the answer from the books. Nasty,
Yeah.
cruel, vicious, and short.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think people have a tendency to do what they have to do to get by and to survive and to succeed, whatever that means to some people, and so it becomes, when people start acting out of those feelings and emotions, it can get real hairy real quick.
People are, I don't know if this is a label any novelist would ever want, but your novels are Darwinian. They are dog,
no, I don't mind that at all.
Dog, survival of the fittest, and the strong kill and eat the weak.
Yeah.
In book after book.
Yeah.
That's a vision for you?
Well, maybe, I think I developed this from a couple writers that I really love.
Yeah.
Larry Brown, I've talked about him a lot, his influence on me, the Oxford writer who came to it late and very gritty. But Larry, in reading his interviews, he would call it sandbagging when people would ask him why he's so tough on his characters. He would call it sandbagging, that he said, I was going to build and throw as much onto my characters as I possibly could to see how much they could take, see what the kind of decisions they would make, see how much courage they had. So that was a big influence. And then in reading Larry's interviews, he talked about Cormac McCarthy, and when I started reading Cormac, the same thing. It's almost like from page one, there's just a clawing, emotionally, physically, etc., from page one through to the end. And you know, that's where I kind of learned and cut my teeth on writers like that, you know, and not just their work, but what they had to say about it as well.
And William follows along. William Gay follows along.
William Gay as well.
A little more subtle in some ways. But still a hard world. The Hurricane. And that his awful world is in Tennessee. Yours is in southern Mississippi. This the poverty, the desperation road. Yes, right. It seems to bring out the worst in people. And they do. It is predator and prey. A lot of it. You were in your beginnings, in your infancy, a preacher's boy. You were raised, I understand, in a very religious household, very religious little world.
Very much so,
And your books have lots to do with religion. But not in any conventional way. Do you have a vision of how do you characterize the religion in Lay Your Armor Down and in Salvage?
That's a very good question.
Not conventional Christianity.
No. I did grow up in little small churches across South Mississippi. It was a very secular type thing. I became doubtful of it pretty early on. When I kind of got to the age, I think 10, 11, or 12, when I kind of started realizing the things I heard on Sunday morning didn't really sync up with the things I heard coming out of the same voices Monday through Saturday. And so doubt began to creep in for me, I think, pretty early. And as time went on and through my teenage years, there was a particular instance at a church my dad was at where something happened that really made me, I was far more behind the curtain than I ever wanted to be when it came to situations like that and how people could be. So I think part of my young adulthood, and even now all the way through, I'm just kind of like religion to me is a kind of very moving, shifting thing that is used by different people at different instances for different means. And I think the language of those stories and of Bible stories and religion and spirituality, or part of me is, I can talk about it like the way I talk about baseball. So when it comes out in a novel, it's not anything I set out to do, like, okay, now I'm going to be, here's some religious symbolism for everybody. It just kind of comes out organically, and the characters I'm creating and the voices that are coming out of them.
But the conventional Christianity may be put aside, but there is mysticism. There is supernatural. There are powers. And in the newest novel, Keel has dreams that are visions of the future. Kara has likewise intuitions of future events. Yes? How does that, is that religion at all? Is that psychosis? What is it?
Well, when I was a kid and I thought about the Bible stories, they were supernatural to me. I had an animated Bible, I remember, and when you've got, this guy is going to lift his hands and part the Red Sea. That's supernatural, guided by whatever hand you believe. That is not of this earth. When a burning bush is talking to you, that is supernatural. That was probably somewhere embedded in my consciousness over the years. And then I just think, as I go through life, I think there's I like kind of walking out to the edge of what might be out there and what might be possible, you know? And I like going and looking for it a little bit.
If you had more characters who were really good people, I would be tempted to say that there is a kind of psychomachia, a kind of spiritual warfare,
Mm-hmm.
good against evil in these books.
Yeah.
The good people are in short supply, though.
Yeah, but they try really hard.
And I mean, do you see the cult, not necessarily the spiritual world of southern Mississippi, but the cultural world as a kind of battleground between the forces of darkness and the forces that want goodness?
Oh, yeah. I think Mississippi is full of contradictions.
Yeah.
I think that's when I leave the state and I go off elsewhere, they ask me about being a Mississippi writer and why is it such fertile ground. I'm like, Mississippi is filled with contradictions and complexities, but particularly just the ideas that butt heads constantly, racially, socially, socioeconomically, religiously, politically. Like, you can't take your finger off of it, you know? And I do. I think it's a constant struggle of good versus bad, even on a minuscule level.
If you're making book on this good versus bad, I suggest people bet on bad.
Yeah, well.
The good people in your book survive.
Mm-hmm.
Something I think I noticed as a pattern in I mean, even in Desperation Road. I mean, if the deputy sheriff is evil,
Yeah.
and if the people who are supposed to be the forces of order,
Right.
if they're evil,
Right.
the culture is crumbling.
Yeah.
I mean, that's clear enough. What is there? Could you talk about Lay Your Armor Down, Salvage, Desperation Road? Is there a quest in there? Are people, especially in Salvage, it seems as if people are struggling to get something, to get somewhere,
Right.
accomplish something. That happens again in Lay Your Armor Down, and the good people are trying to protect this little girl.
Yeah.
And who is she?
Yeah.
Who is she?
Well, she's rumored to have special powers,
Yes.
you know, that she can control the weather, and that's why she's being hunted. Is it true or not? We don't know.
The old I don't know.
We don't know. You have to read it to find out. I suppose.
I read it.
Make your
I still
decision.
don't know.
I don't know.
But in a world that you have, in the world of southern Mississippi,
Yeah.
one of the what's happening there, a major cause of the cultural and economic disaster is weather.
Yeah.
So you've got a character who may or may not be able to control the weather.
Right. Who may or may not be able to save us. Yeah. You talk about forces of good and evil, this and that and other. I think with Keel and Burdine in particular, they're two bad dudes out in the middle of the night,
Yes.
told to go pick something up and bring it to this person who has hired them, but they're not
Yes.
told what it is.
Yes.
You'll know it when you see it. And they go into this old church in the countryside and go into this old abandoned cellar, and they find a little girl hidden in a room in the dark. But that's not a line they're willing to cross either. You know, they're not good dudes. They're very clandestine. They go about task after task, but this is a thing that shocks them both, or like jaw drops them both, to the point to where they are like, I think they're in suspense a little bit. Like, and I mean like the moment, and their decision making is just kind of put on hold because they don't really know what to do, you know? And there is a lot of back and forth, particularly with Burdine, who's the older one, and his moral compass has been deteriorated for a while.
Longer, yes.
Where he's got some real debates about, I could get out of this with one phone call, you know? But we're still hanging in that limbo, you know?
And we don't know really who's hired them.
No, he
They
doesn't
are
really
thugs
know.
for hire.
Yes, they are.
They're gunzels at one
Yeah.
point, I think you call them.
That's right.
Which it seems to be very Chicago, but
Yeah, a little bit.
but they're, let's search for a gob of optimism.
Yeah.
There are some things even they won't do.
That's right. That's right. And I think Kill in particular, you know, there's 20 years
Yes.
difference between them.
Yes.
He's younger. And you can tell I think even in his description, it mentions something about his eyes that says that they were the last touches of boyhood in his eyes, but before the world was coming for him, you know. So there's that dynamic a little bit too, where, you know.
It is romantic in the sense that as little babies, we are innocent.
Yeah.
And these two. And the older one gets, in the normal course of things, the more corrupt.
Yeah.
And if corrupt melds over into evil.
Yeah.
What about this head evil? A man named Wayman.
Yeah.
Who's Wayman?
Well, I mean, really, you know, me talking about a minute ago, but like, I've been willing to kind of walk out to the edge and see what might appear, might be lingering on this world kind of in between. It's almost like Wayman just rose up from the ground as a shadow and he's just there. I mean, he's part of the hunt for this little girl. Almost this mystical kind of like bounty hunter who just is there. And he's through the woods and he carries. I love giving him like little characteristics, like it mentions how patient he is, how he's just willing to sit, and he was unnaturally patient, and he carries around a pocket watch that doesn't keep time.
Right.
You know, it's broken.
Yeah.
And Wayman was actually became kind of more mystical to me because I found myself, I think, in Lay Your Armor Down, making mention of time and thinking about time more than I have in other books. And I don't know why that is, but Wayman seemed to be just that timeless piece who could have been here forever, just waiting for that right moment to, you know, seep up through the earth.
He is slightly less mortal
Yes.
than the rest. Well, speaking of time, we're out of time.
Well, okay.
You just in 10 seconds, tell me your next book. What are we going to look for?
I do not have a next book.
Good. That doesn't take 10 seconds at all.
I have a next book. I'm turning my eye toward film. Hopefully we're going to be shooting Blackwood here in a few months.
Great. Well, you have done 2 film scripts already.
Yeah.
And good luck with it.
Thank you very much.
I'll look for the movie too.
I'll try my best.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.